I remember standing in front of Rembrandt's impressive night watch for one of the very first times when something caught my eye. It wasn't the tiny self-portrait Rembrandt supposedly hid in his own painting, nor did the coat of arms of Amsterdam that was shown ever so delicate in Lieutenant van Ruitenburg's coat. No, it was the painting on the right, an almost exact copy of one of Rembrandt's most talked about paintings. The copy that Gerrit Lundens made was supposedly commissioned by Frans Banning Kok, who can be seen in black in the front of the night watch. I wondered why a replica would hang right next to such a one-of-a-kind work of art like the night watch. My interest started there. I began reading more into it and discovered a world full of copied art, not only in the museum shop itself or modern Europe, but also centuries ago and in different countries all over the world. I came to the realization that there's only one place that can turn art into a mass product: China. My father travels to China quite frequently for his work. I thought he might know of some interesting facts about the Chinese copy culture. He mentioned an interesting place in China that is called the Oil Painting Village. Dalian Village is a suburb of Shenzhen in the Guangdong province of China. The thousands of artists here work day and night to produce up to 60% of the total global volume of reproduction artworks from the mass market.
Using images is a common ground, and a lot of Chinese use images for mass production, and at Rijksmuseum we're perfectly okay with that.
The Chinese have a totally different view on copyright and of intellectual property. In their culture there's a less awareness of the concept of individual rights.
Copy culture isn't new. The history of art forgery dates back to more than 2,000 years ago. Back then, being able to copy the works of your master was a way of learning how to paint yourself. In classical times, the Romans freely copied Greek sculptures. And during the Middle Ages, it wasn't the name of the artist that was important. It was the religious story that was being told. Han van Meegeren was a Dutch painter who is considered to be one of the most ingenious art forgers of the 20th century. Art critics couldn't appreciate his own paintings, causing van Meegeren to think they destroyed his career. To prove the art critics of his talent, Han van Meegeren started to forge paintings of famous Dutch masters like Johannes Vermeer and Frans Hals. During the Second World War, the wealthy Dutchman bought and hid paintings to prevent Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party from gaining all Dutch art. Therefore, the wealthy Dutchman bought van Meegeren's work in the consideration that they bought real works from the Dutch masters. Han van Meegeren got arrested as a collaborator, because it was believed that he had sold Dutch cultural property to the Nazis. At that point, van Meegeren finally admitted that the painting was forged. Van Meegeren was later convicted for falsification and fraud charges. I wondered if people could see the difference between real and fake. I asked unsuspicious bystanders at the museum square in Amsterdam if they could see the difference.
And I think this one is the original. I'm pretty sure. Last year I was in The Hague, and I know that when coming close to the picture that it looked a little bit fake. And this one is more, pronounced. I also see some cacalet here, which I also did not see at the original, and that's why I think that one is the original and this is not the original, but made believe to be more original than the other one.
I'm gonna say it's this one. You know what? I'm not really sure, to be perfectly honest. I think it's kind of a feeling.
At an art school called the Willem de Kooning Academy, I asked the students who themselves are becoming artists if they could also tell the difference.
So I think the left one is the real one and the right one is the copy, because the left one has like the cracks in the paint, and I think the lighting is different on the right one.
This one. This one looks smaller, like the proportions are like, this one is wider, the face.
To find out what museums think of art forgery and replicas, I went to the Rijksmuseum to discover their opinion on this matter.
I think that reproductions are of all ages, so there's also a scale in between fake and real, and sometimes you see that painters readapt works of others. As a museum, you want to show the real work, so you have to be fair and honest about that. So if we were showing the Night Watch, a copy of the Night Watch, we are obliged to tell that, and that's okay to do that, and actually we do that.
It can't be said that the people of Guangdong are the first to make a living out of copying art. For centuries, people have copied the great masters as a token of appreciation or inspiration.
也许有人说我是在临摹它，是在盗版，但是说我觉得说通过我的临摹，到时候以后等到我想要自己创作的东西了，我就会有自己的体现的手法，然后来体现中国式的那种乡村啊，那种住宅啊，那种感觉的不一样的东西。现在我都是在借鉴他的作品，这个是实话实说。
I think that's okay, and it leads to new art and new concepts. So it gives the old masters a new relevance in present day.
The original Van Goghs and Rembrandts are still highly valued as they are made by the masters themselves, with the love and devotion only the real painter could bring. I asked people and experts what originality means to them.
And I think the importance of that, it's like the real deal, is that's made by the original artist, and you can like see that it's genuine, because if it's copied, then someone, I don't know, cannot capture the same thing as like the original artist.
I only have paintings, etc., that are original. I have a better feeling with it.
Original one is like from the maker, so that's like the vision of the maker is an original one, and then the copy of it is just a copy of that original one, and not the vision of the maker.
Authenticity, I think that to a certain extent in terms of art, authenticity is definitely an expression that's revolved around the purity of an idea that someone feels, as opposed to creating a product for a specific purpose, whether it be money or popularity, whatever I suppose someone feels like is imposed upon them. Whereas authenticity itself is something a little more, I don't know, I guess purity is the word. It comes from oneself, and whether it's inspired by other people's ideas doesn't really matter, because the purpose of it is to create it and enjoy it for the idea itself and not what it'll bring.
We believe that original pieces of art and good art is so powerful that it never loses its significance.
After discovering more about this copy culture world, my view of it has shifted. It is not just artists that are copying these masterpieces for fame or money. Han van Meegelen tried to prove to art critics that he could paint, and the Chinese artists in Guangdong feel like they're paying a tribute to the great painters that have left their legacy in their art. So, one question remains for me. What is originality really worth?